Hey, welcome to FreightWaves NOW, Wednesday edition style. Happy hump day, happy tip of the cyclical cycle day. We are here, so much is happening, people are walking around, and it's just like you can probably hear the steady hum. Lots of exciting activity here, and of course lots of uncertainty in the global geopolitical situation. But before we bring on Mike Intermodal O'Brien and Kevin King of The Hill, we are featured with Chief Meteorologist Nick Austin. Tell us, we have a developing situation. Can it snow in May? What is happening?
It absolutely can, Chad. And you even asked me when we were talking about this, because I mentioned the Sierra Nevada big snowstorm actually that's going to be developing not really till tonight, but we have to mention it now. And you said in May? And other people have been asking the same thing.
And you're trying to suggest that this is normal.
Well, they do get snow in May in the Sierra Nevada, but this storm is going to be stronger than a normal May snowstorm. That's the thing. It's going to be quite intense. Usually, I got this directly from folks at the Weather Service office that's out in Sacramento, California, and when they get a snowstorm in May in the Sierra Nevada, typically it may produce up to a foot of snow in some spots, but this one could be dumping 2 to 3 feet of snow in some areas. So that's the difference. The intensity of the storm is unusual for mid-May.
What's the road conditions like? What's the situation from the logistics point of view for this developing situation?
Well, along I-80, over Donner Pass, and a lot of the other mountain passes, a lot of the roads are going to start wet, even in some of the highest elevations, but then they'll quickly turn snowy tonight, especially after midnight tonight, including parts of Interstate 80 over Donner Pass and some other sections of the interstate as well, from Nevada into eastern California. So that's where it's going to have a lot of high impact. The big snow is mostly going to be in those high elevations, Echo Pass as well, and a lot of the other mountain passes. So yes, inevitably there will be delays, possible road closures, chain controls will be posted, all that kind of stuff. So the overnight drivers will really have to watch out for this storm. There's going to be some pretty strong winds in spots too. So it's not just going to be the roads are going to be slick, but blowing snow, the strong winds, all that's going to be problematic. So that's really the focus for disruptive weather. But there's still a lot of flooding in parts of the Midwest along the Mississippi and the Missouri rivers.
They can't catch a break out there.
Cannot catch a break. They're not getting a lot of rain right now, but this is just the persistent flooding because they had such a wet spring so far. Beginning with that big storm back in mid-March, and then it's just been off and on with a lot of heavy rain and thunderstorms. So this is St. Louis right now that we're showing on our new critical events feature, which is just a fabulous feature we have on here. You can see rails that might be affected by flooding, various threat levels, as well as ports. Here's the Port of St. Louis, Union Pacific Railroad, which is monitoring a rail from St. Louis over to Kansas City.
Wow.
With a moderate or medium threat for some flooding problems. You can also look at problems that there may be with oil refineries and things like that. So all kinds of assets, as we call them, that might be affected by certain types of disruptive weather. And if we click on this one right here, this is for the Union Pacific Railroad, one of the subdivisions in the St. Louis area. And what we can do is we can click on this guy here and kind of drag up the rest of the forecast information. And you can look to see kind of how long this medium threat, this orange medium threat, is going to take place. It's mainly for the rest of the day today, maybe part of tonight. You can look at forecasted temperatures as well as forecasted wind speeds for the next several days.
Amazing.
Things that might impact these assets under these threat areas. So
look at that too. The conditions.
New feature.
Broken clouds. Sounds like
Broken
a band
clouds.
name.
Yeah,
as opposed to fixed clouds. No, but oh, wow, this is really, man. I tell you what, this Sonar 4.0. You can really dive deep. They can't catch a break out there in the middle. I mean, they're also bearing a lot of the brunt of the tariff situation too, with a lot of the surplus coming out of the Midwest. Right. Yeah, thanks for that, Nick.
You bet.
All right, appreciate that.
And as always, be careful out there.
Be careful out there. And speaking of the trade situation, we will definitely maybe be seeing people trying to get ahead of this, right? Moving things from port to port. Mike Intermodal O'Brien, welcome to the show.
Good to be here as always.
Well, what are you going to have us look at? I remember we checked out some Savannah and some LA last time. You got some of that up your sleeve?
Yeah, we're going to look at that in a minute. First, the bad news. Last week, intermodal overall was down right at 5%. I think it was like 4.9. That's a pretty big slide. Year to date, we've dipped like 1.6%. So we're heading in the wrong direction. But it's not all bad news. As we're looking at the head haul index.
Mike, what are the reasons for this? Does it have to do with the capacity crunch and all of the surplus of trucking? Is that kind of the main reason?
There's still a lot of competition with trucks. Trucks have a ton of capacity out there. So there's still some freight going from the rail back to the road, which shows in the numbers.
Okay.
So, but this may be good news. The head haul index that you're seeing here,
Yes.
Blue's good, red's bad, right?
Yes.
There's not a whole lot of blue, but if you notice where blue is, there's a lot of intermodal ramps, which is good news. Like you got Savannah. Even though Atlanta's still showing white, it's surrounded by blue. So Atlanta's technically a head haul at this point. You got Chicago up there, you got Harrisburg, PA, Kansas City, Memphis, Dallas, and of course LA's been glowing all year. So even though there's not a lot of markets that are technically showing head haul at this point, they're grouped right around the rails. So the competition with truck and intermodal might can pick up some gains. So that's actually a good signal.
For intermodal. Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Okay, interesting.
And we've been wondering what's going to trigger an overall change in the market. We've heard the word tariff come up, and we got another guy talking later that's much smarter than me. But that could trigger. So it made me want to look at some of the markets that have been the busiest, the port cities. First, we'll look at Savannah. And what was drawing my eye to this particular chart is the pull forward last time, if there is another pull forward, was right in here.
In the end of 2018.
Right, that's where they were pulled forward. But if you look at the tender volume since then, it's been tracking along at peak season.
Yeah, look at those volumes.
So this time last year, you see the volumes were down. If there's another pull forward, it's gonna blow this off the charts.
If there's another pull forward, it's going to blow the volumes up the charts.
Yes, it'll be like a pre-peak season kicking in, then peak season to come, and then the rest of the year will be elevated volumes.
In your opinion, are we going to see this pull forward as they try to get ahead of tariffs?
Like I said, the next guy up's smarter than me, but I think so. I think we'll see somewhat, maybe not to the extent we saw last time, but
okay.
I think we will.
Is there room in the warehouse? Like I know kind of we're at max capacity with warehousing.
We're waiting on we're getting some warehouse figures updated, and there's still not much capacity around the port cities at this point.
Okay.
Which makes you also want to look at Ontario real quick. It's going to be a similar
Yes.
story, and we know warehousing's tight out here. They're at above peak season from last year with the pull forward right here. They still haven't bled all this inventory off from the last one. So
Right.
if there's another wave coming, I don't really know where they're going to put the product.
Okay, so thank you for that analysis. Thank you, Mike Intermodal O'Brien. Maybe some optimism for intermodal after all, based upon the head haul index and how they're positioned around ports. Good analysis. Kevin, King of the Hill, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Well, your co-host just said that you were a smarter guy than him 2 times.
I doubt that. I really doubt that.
Well, we got high expectations now. What do you got looking at? Wow, you got a lot of things going on.
So it's similar to Mike's graph on Ontario. This is LAX and outbound tender volumes, right? We see that, so basically it's about 45% above where it was last year. With that though, the tender reject in red have just cratered, right? About 1.5% tender rejects.
Yes.
So volumes are up, rejections are down, and it really shouldn't happen. We've seen a lot of capacity come on the market, about 9.5%. We're working on an exact figure right now, and it should be out in a couple weeks.
Okay.
But that's kind of what you're seeing. You're seeing volumes up and a lot of trucks that have entered the market from the boom times of 2018 that are now getting readjusted. What we will probably see actually is these volumes go up a little bit as we pull forward demand from China, right?
Okay.
So we're in the process of public comments on the 300 billion in additional tariffs.
When
that
do
are
those
proposed.
when do those kick in?
So public comments are until June 10th, public meetings June 17th, and then it's usually 90 days after that before they really kick in. So everyone has time now to bring as much capacity in or as much merchandise in from China as possible.
Kind of one of those ironies, right? Where like you're trying to suppress trade in a way, send a message, and yet what happens? Everything actually expands and grows for a little while.
It does. You get that short burst of everyone trying to beat the clock.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to see. We're going to see volumes go up from here, most likely. And this should spike tender rejects like it did in the fourth quarter right here. So we got a shot up to about 12.5%. We're down to 1.5% now. So we should get hopefully around 10%. That'll make it a very good head haul market.
Out of LA.
Out of LA.
The port
LA,
of
Ontario,
LA.
yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Ontario as well. And then the next slide kind of goes back to capacity a little bit, where you can see Class 8 new orders from last year. See this huge spike. There's about 500,000 new orders last year. And in the red here, we have values of 5-year used trucks, right?
Yes.
So you can see from those two charts really how much capacity was added over the last 12 months. And that either is going to be sold off out of the picture or absorbed with freight volumes.
So the orders you have overall, orders for Class 8 trucks,
yeah, it's in the blue.
has obviously been going
Oh, it's
way
cratered,
down.
yeah.
Right?
It is cratered this year. It's probably under 20,000 orders per month.
While you're cross-comparing it with used truck prices of 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
And
So
even that has gone down a little bit in plateau.
it's gone down a little bit. We'll be watching that.
Okay.
See what that does. If it keeps going down, then you're going to see a lot of capacity being sold off.
So it begs the question, right? Like there's just so much capacity absorbing this, somewhat we could say balanced market. You said it's unusual. It shouldn't really be this out of whack, right? I mean,
It shouldn't. If shipping volumes are going up, especially in a market like LA, you should see rejections and capacity starting to tighten, but it hasn't. It's just loosened, right? It should tighten a little bit once the pull forward comes in, as it should, right? So that's something to watch for.
I think it's always one of those things like, that might be a tumultuous time as we pull forward, but then, boy, it could just drop off, right? If there's no
after
demand
that,
for these goods, if consumers are concerned about their spending now, a little shaken from what might be happening.
And we build inventories on the West Coast from where they're at now, which are pretty inflated. If we add more inventories onto that, then we're going to have a period of working those inventories off, which means less production, right? Less new orders, and more liquidation of inventory.
And a lot of people are sinking their heels in right now. It seems like a lot of people want to be playing this the long way, right? That's the rhetoric right now.
It is the rhetoric. We'll see how that changes, see if it's negotiation ploys, or if we're headed to this scenario.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the good news is rates could go up for
They
some
could.
carriers temporarily. The bad news is there's a lot of uncertainty out there. Thank you to all of our market experts today for bringing a fascinating tip of the cyclical cycle Wednesday analysis of the things going on out there. If you want to check out and do a deeper dive with Sonar and all of the amazing things that we have now in our 4.0, and I think in a few months we're going 5.0. So the train just keeps on rolling. It's exciting, but we do demos, so you can just check us out at freightwaves.com/sonar, and you could get a demo, get in queue for a demo, or how to customize it to your own specifications. We are sharing the love on social media. We're everywhere. We would love to have you in the club and be a part of your Cool Kids Club. So thanks for the shout outs. We are here. I'm at Chad Prevost on Twitter. Anytime you want to hit me, of course, we've got FreightWaves, everywhere you can look, on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel if you would, so you can keep getting these each and every business day as we come out, still at 4 o'clock, bringing in as many market experts as we can to give you the insights and analysis with all the cool data points that we are surrounding ourselves with. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow. And don't worry, be happy.